show now, as he does each and every Friday. Did not think that he would ever see me in that state of salt. Mikey Henninger, Basement Brewed Fantasy Football. How we doing today, Mike?
What is up, gentlemen? I'm doing great. I actually just finished watching every Mason Crosby game-winning kick as a Green Bay Packer over on YouTube.
Wow.
So I'm in a great mood.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah,
we'll
we'll send you salts for next week, but just do that. If you don't have the salts, that'll get you fired up.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I mean.
Yep.
Just watch the Dallas ones over and over again, and you'll get pretty juiced.
Yeah,
but,
that's right where I left off.
appreciate you
The
jumping
Dallas
off.
kick.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Did you gotta listen to the Dallas kick with the Celine Dion, in the background? That one hits right. That one gets you.
Okay,
It's
Donald
perfect.
Driver joining the show now here in exchange of Mason Crosby. There we go. Mikey Henninger jumping on. Mikey's been talking fantasy football with us for the last couple of weeks. We're going to have him on every Friday. He's going to be at 1 o'clock today. I think going forward, we'll have him a little bit earlier in the show. But Mikey, how's your fantasy outlook going right now, first and foremost? Using your advice on yourself enough this season?
It's kind of funny you say that. Well, first of all, it depends which of my 73 leagues you're asking about.
Oh,
right?
my
I'll only focus on the good ones, but it's funny you ask that, though. I always like to joke that, you know how a doctor is his own worst patient? That's kind of how I am with fantasy football. By the time it comes for me to set my own lineups, I kind of make some rookie mistakes pretty frequently. But
Just go
as long as my subscribers and members are doing it right, then we're all good. That's more important.
Nice. So what's what's the best lineup that you're throwing out there right now? What's one that you can hang your hat on that just is been producing, feels really good? And then I also always love to ask, the tight end is the hardest position, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you get a tight end hurt, your top guy goes down, who is that guy that you can kind of look to maybe if your starter has gone down, for some of these listeners to dive in whenever they feel like their fantasy season's about to go down the tank.
Yeah. So your first question was my best team, I believe.
Yes.
I would say, and this doesn't feel too fair because it's a dynasty league, so you have a couple years to put it together. But
Wow.
I have one dynasty squad that's insane. It's got Lamar Jackson, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, had James Conner, so that one hurts, but we still got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Zay Flowers, Trey McBride. That one's that I went back to back in that one. So we should we're looking for a three-peat here. But
so you just get to carry that over and kind of keep just plugging pieces in. Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah,
dude.
Definitely. Mikey's been having a great time here last couple of weeks. Has been giving some good advice here as well. He asked. This is the first time he's coming on Mason Crosby, and he's like, what do I need to know? He didn't prep for anything until Mason Crosby was on the show.
That's not totally true. I did text Mitch a couple weeks back, hey, is there anything specific you want to talk about? But yeah, man, as far as your other question, Mason, about tight ends, you're right. It's totally a crapshoot pretty much every year. You get your one or two main guys, Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, and then after that, George Kittle was in the mix and he went down. So that's a good example of what you're talking about.
He was on my roster. So yeah, I'm scratching, trying to figure out who I'm going to plug in there.
Well, I got you, my friend. Every week I put together a little streamer cheat sheet from top to bottom, tight ends, quarterbacks, kickers, defenses that I'm looking at. Top of the list for this week. Unfortunately for the Packers, Jake Ferguson is pretty high on that list if he's available in your league. There's just a lot setting up there to like about Jake Ferguson. Tucker Kraft shouldn't be available, but he is in some leagues, so he's up there. But after that, we got Zach Ertz, Dalton Kincaid, Dallas Goedert, Kyle Pitts, David Njoku, Mark Andrews. If you want to get real deep, Brenton Strange, Chiga Okonkwo, Aronde Gaston.
Strange.
Yep. Aronde Gaston, the rookie for the Chargers. He's suddenly getting some playing time out there. So
they have a great quarterback. So that makes sense.
All right.
Yep.
Tommy loves Justin Herbert. If you didn't know that, Mikey, he loves Justin Herbert.
I just think let's wait till week 8 before we start having these conversations about a guy who lost a playoff game to Trevor Lawrence. That's all I'm saying. 3-0 is cool. Everyone thought the Packers were winning the Super Bowl last week, and then the Browns happened. All right, slow down on Justin Herbert, right? Mikey Henninger, Basement Brewed Fantasy Football, joining us here. So, Mikey, what are other guys that maybe you just really like this week? Some players that maybe are like a rotational bench, weekly option type thing, or a daily fantasy type situation. Who are guys that you're really excited for this week for week 4?
Well, with the Chargers in mind, you got to really, really like Omarion Hampton moving forward, but especially this week. Now, they're entering this game as 6-point favorites over the Giants. They have a top 7 implied team total at 24.75 points. They're expected to score plenty of touchdowns. No Najee Harris for the rest of the season. He had Omarion Hampton had 25-plus touches last week, including 6 catches on 7 targets. This week, he's projected for at least 20 touches against a Giants defense that is allowing the 5th most rushing yards, 5th most rushing touchdowns, 5th most PPR points per game, 4th most PPR points per touch. And I'm treating Omarion Hampton like he's a high-end RB1 with legitimate, like, the top dog RB1 upside. He's set up to smash this week, for sure.
Any top dog I'm going after. That's no doubt. No doubt. And you did say one of my tight ends, so I feel really good. I have Goddard. He was my second, second option. So I feel like I'm going to win this week. I feel really solid about my lineup just because of that.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead. You say what you're going to say. I got another question after you give your
no, all I was going to say is there's plenty of upside and plenty of optimism to Dallas Goedert this week. That Eagles-Buccaneers game could shoot out a little bit, and if that happens, if you get Jalen Hurts throwing 30-plus passes, Dallas Goedert has a good chance to see his fair share of targets. So he's obviously not my favorite tight end, but he's usable in week 4.
Nice. Well, you mentioned kickers, so this game against the Packers and the Cowboys. I mean, I got to imagine Brandon Aubrey is always, somebody, if he's ever available, go get him. Do you think he's going to score? Like he's got to be looking to score a lot of points against the Packers. He might be their only option to score points in this Packers game.
Yeah. So believe it or not, the biggest concern with Brandon Aubrey is that the Cowboys are only expected to score about 20 points in this game, and they're heavy underdogs. 7 last I saw it was 7 points, 7.5 points. So the theory there is that
they're not kicking field goals.
They're not kicking field goals. They're not going to be scoring a lot of points. I've actually been working on a kicker research project. You'll appreciate this, Mason. Nice. Trying to identify kickers that score double-digit points every single week, and kickers on teams that have a spread or that are 7-point underdogs only score double-digit points about 3% of the time. So the likelihood of him hitting but he's still Brandon Aubrey. He's one of those guys that it's like you got to put him in there because he could nail a 70-yarder right down the middle anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. Mikey Henninger, Basement Brewed Fantasy Football, joining us here on the Mason Crosby Show. What about specifically if any of our fans have doubled down and gotten some Packers on their fantasy football team, or Cowboys, I guess, for the week? Specifically from that game, Mikey, what are you liking a lot for week 4 of fantasy football?
So I actually tweeted the other day, just threw my shot out there. I said, Matthew Golden scores his first and second touchdown against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. The stars are starting to align. There's a lot of positive green signs pointing for Matthew Golden. He's first of all, the Packers are tied for the second highest team total of all 32 teams this year. They're expected to score about 27 points in this game. Plenty of touchdown upside. Matthew Golden's snap share has increased week over week. He started at 48% of the snaps in week 1, 59% of the snaps in week 2, 71% of the snaps in week 3. And all of that is without even mentioning the Swiss cheese that is the Dallas Cowboys defense, particularly when it comes to wide receivers. They're allowing the most receiving yards, most PPR points per game, second most PPR points per catch. These guys are allowing 3.68 points per catch to opposing wide receivers. Jeez. And Matthew Golden is exactly the type of wide receiver that can do a lot of damage with a little bit of volume, right? Because the volume hasn't been there for Matthew Golden, but if he's able to bring in even 3, 4, 5 catches, this is the type of defense that can fall apart against his speed. I got him scoring his first touchdown on Sunday night, maybe even 2.
That would be awesome to hear for sure. I always got one question for you. It feels like a week here on my team too. Specifically, I'm looking at defense this week, and it relates to this game because I have Green Bay's defense on my fantasy football team, but I also have Denver going up against Cincinnati this week. Jake Browning stinks, Mikey. Let's just call it what it is. And Denver's defense looks like they could have something here. Which one would you go with this week?
I'm going Denver there. They're actually top 4 in my defensive streamers tab. I would go Texans, Bills, Lions over the Broncos, but that's it. After that, it's Broncos for me. Bengals are only expected to score about 18.5 points. They're big underdogs, suggesting they're going to have to put the ball in the air. Anytime you got Jake Browning putting the ball in the air too much, that could result in sacks, interceptions. I'm going Denver defense, and I'm feeling pretty good about it too.
Man, that's awesome. I do have a question. Obviously, my first time talking to you, even though you've been on the show and talked to the guys a few times. But so how, like, what platform do you use? Do you have your own like fantasy platform, or do you spread out amongst other fantasy leagues and other platforms?
Yeah, man. So I March of 2022, I quit a decade-long B2B sales career to do this full time. Like I'm in my basement cranking on this all day, every day, 100% of the time. But yeah, man, basementbrewedff.com. It's now I don't host. If you were asking if I host leagues, I don't do anything.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't do that. It's just analysis, resources, community that people use to dominate their friends, and
all of their leagues.
Yep. All of that. So, yep.
Yeah. I'm just asking I'm asking the questions. Want to make sure that I, know exactly what's going on as well. As our listeners, if it's the first time that they're hearing everything that you're doing, I mean, that insight obviously is exceptional and can help so many people in so many different, in different platforms, whether it's daily fantasy or, like the dynasty fantasy, which seems like pretty awesome, where you can just build out a team over years and go out there and dominate. So, that's great stuff, Mike. I really appreciate you jumping on, and hopefully you can keep giving us some insight, and we can go try to win a league here. I'm trying to beat up on some of my family members in a fantasy league, and I lose focus after if I lose after I lose a tight end or I lose my starting running back, I'm just like, oh gosh, my season's over. So I definitely need some help in that fantasy space.
Well, here's the deal, man. I'm studying this stuff literally 30 plus hours every single week. I'm writing matchup analysis for every quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end in every single game, every single week. You name a player, I have analysis for them for the upcoming week. So whatever you need, Mason, I got you covered, man. Just let me know.
Okay. Awesome.
Mikey Henninger, Basement Brewed Fantasy Football. Tell us where you can find all your great stuff, Mikey.
BasementBrewedFF.com is my website. That's where you can find my articles. You can find my YouTube videos. My YouTube channel is Basement Brewed Fantasy Football. But otherwise, I'm just hanging out on LinkedIn pretty frequently, believe it or not, but also Twitter at BBFF Mikey. And Mason, I forgot to tell you that your buddy Lane Taylor says hello. I was texting him just before hopping on. He said hello.
I love Lane. You're not down in Texas, are you?
I'm not down in Texas. He was on my YouTube show a couple years back, and we've stayed in touch. And he hits me up for fantasy advice from time to time. So I told him. Does he ever send you
a brisket or anything?
So that's where the whole relationship started. I was in his DMs on Instagram, like, dude, you got to send me the recipe for this stuff. And from there, we started talking. So it's crazy.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Mikey, and we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. There he is, Mikey Henninger, Basement Brewed Fantasy Football.